Welcome to Jive and Honey, famous for nothing. We have a guest with us today that I don't even know. I've known Victor for over 25 years. How far back do you go?
I mean, around the same time, I would say, probably, because I think we met at La Colombe and mutual friends introduced us.
It would have been around 25 years ago for sure, maybe a little bit longer.
You will know him from all his articles and his work as senior reporter for Philadelphia Magazine. It's our good old friend, Victor Fiorillo.
Thank you for pronouncing my last name correctly.
He was stressed about that.
I was rehearsing like 5 times. He's like, you got it.
I know for a fact that we met previous to 1998 because one of my core memories of you is on a Saturday afternoon. It was raining. I was in La Colombe having some coffee. You were in there. We started talking. You had nothing to do. I had nothing to do. And we went and saw Armageddon together at the Sam Eric around the corner.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good memory.
And that was 98. So
the disgusting Sam Eric that had a hole in the ceiling where, depending on the time of day, you would see a blotch of light on the movie screen that would then get bigger as the sun passed overhead.
Yes.
I know. I miss all those old theaters.
The last time I went there was with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and there was a guy behind us who was pleasuring himself in the seat.
Jeez.
Yeah.
To
Philadelphia.
To like the 4th Indiana Jones.
Probably.
You're like, come on, man. What are we doing here?
Holy hell. But I remember, it's like, I always remember you at La Colombe. I think we all kind of hung out there at around 2000.
Right? Yeah. Previous to 2000. Yeah.
Right around that. Yeah, right around that time.
Yeah, a lot of Y2K fears there.
Yeah.
It was the best place in the city, as far as I was concerned, to pick up women. Frankly.
100%.
I mean, that's why I was there.
Yes.
And you didn't have alcohol involved in the situation, which can sometimes muddy the waters.
Yes.
So you start off, sober, maybe on a caffeine high.
it's
yes.
important.
And it just had this energy to it. I remember walking up to the coffee bar, and there was a new barista behind the counter, and she was wearing some like vintage 1960s dress. And I just said to her, "That is a beautiful dress, and you look so beautiful in it." And then I think we lived together for like 6 months, starting the next day.
Yes.
That's pretty good.
Her name was Victoria. She was from Russia.
Oh, wow.
Wait.
You were kind of like a true city person, artist that I was just, attracted to, not in the love interest way, but like.
Damn.
Yeah, I know. But you play the accordion.
I've been known to.
Yeah. And you would always talk about trips to Morocco. At that time, you had gone multiple times.
I did. I went 3 times, and on each trip, I went with a woman, once including Victoria.
Hey,
Yeah.
You're like, you might not come back. I don't know. We'll see if we can get you back in this country.
On each trip, we either broke up on the trip or right after we got back from the trip.
Well, it's really important to be able to travel with somebody if you're going to be
Yes,
with them.
So my wife heard about this and refused to go to Morocco with me.
That makes sense.
Smart move.
Yeah, that is
Yes.
a smart move. Yeah.
If she wanted to be in it for the long haul, I think that's a smart move.
It's true. And actually, my wife and I, our first trip together was 6 months after we met. You said it's important to be able to travel with someone. We went to godforsaken Haiti because she wanted to go on a vacation to an island, and I found the cheapest airfare was to Haiti, so I took her to Haiti. And there were 7 pipe bombings in the city the day we got there because it was the same week as the presidential election.
Wow.
So we left Port-au-Prince and walked through the mountains for 2 weeks, and she had just had knee surgery 6 months before that. And I'll tell you, she never once complained about the lights being out all night for 3 nights. She didn't complain about the jumping spiders, and she didn't complain about walking over multiple mountains. I think this is a good modern love column for the New York Times.
It really is,
Yeah.
So I guess you knew immediately upon returning. You were
It was upon returning.
She's a winner.
Yeah, I was already in love with her, but it was obvious to me that we could hang.
Right.
So with Philly Mag, your senior reporter, you've been doing this for a long time.
That's right. I started there in 2002 as the research editor, which was the fancy title they gave to the fact checker. Yes, Philadelphia Magazine actually has fact checkers.
Wow.
We still have fact checkers.
Wow. That's impressive.
Yes, and it's one reason why you can trust what you read in Philly Mag, because everything is very carefully vetted. Not many publications these days can say that.
You're not on the street. Like, how do stories come to you?
I've been doing this for 22 years, and 23. Oh God, did I really just say that?
It's a while now.
And I've written a lot of big stories over the years, so people know to come to me with things. So, it used to be that I would get an email from somebody or a phone call. Really, does somebody call you on the phone? And then you would get texts. Now, so often there's somebody talking about something on social media that happened to them. And then one of my friends will annoyingly tag me in the comments. And I always tell them, don't tag me, DM me. Because once you tag me, then my competitors are like, oh, Victor's going to be on this. And they know how fast I work. So they are constantly annoyed, like the Inquirer. Okay, I'll beat them myself on a story that they have 3 reporters on. So, like, it's a real scramble. They literally have 3 people who can't write a story as fast as I can write one.
You got to stay nimble.
Yes. Got to stay nimble.
Do you have, like, a criteria to a story? Like, does it have to check, like, 3 boxes for you to be like, yeah, I'm gonna pursue this?
Right. Obviously, the story has to be newsworthy, but that is a subjective thing.
Yeah.
And it has to be something that people are going to be interested in. And I think I have a really good understanding of what people are going to want to read. It has to be informative. It might be informing you about something that many people seem as frivolous, but it's something that a lot of people are talking about. There are so many stories like this. And when we can, it has to, I want it to be something that transforms. Like, I know that I'm sort of well known for some of these bigger, quote unquote, salacious stories, but there are so many victims who have come to me, with far more serious matters. Like, one thing that comes to mind is all the women who were drugged at the Dolphin in South Philly. I can't remember how many women. Yeah. One came to me and then another came to me. And, the ownership, Avram Hornick, wasn't really doing anything about it. He's a big fan of mine. I say jokingly, of course. And eventually, we basically, by my reporting on it, they put cameras up in there and they started to take it seriously. And before that, they were just blowing it off. There was just this big situation at Villanova University that I exposed where, a young woman was raped in a dorm room while one guy sat by and videotaped it and didn't intervene. And Villanova got rid of 2 of the guys involved, but the guy who sat by there and videotaped, he was going to be able to walk at graduation until I got wind of it and started exposing this fact. And then finally they didn't cancel him from graduation. They basically got him to cancel himself because they didn't want to cancel him for some odd reason. So there's a lot of stuff like that I think people might forget about when, they're talking about like funny viral stories.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which leads to how we contacted you in the first place, because, the story that, I think it was your 3rd story about the Delco Pooper. And it was just like, but like, that was my first thought. It's like, I can't believe he has to write about this.
I think you said in one of them, you're like, I can't believe I'm writing these words again.
Right. And
it's true.
Everyone knows about a month and a half ago?
Something like
a
I
while
tried
ago.
to forget.
There's some road rage and a woman came out and pooped on the other car, Pritz's car.
That's right. I got wind of it, and I actually was meeting a source at a dive bar in Delco, a cop source, and this guy down the bar was like, people kind of know who I am, and he was like, "Hey, Victor, you're gonna write about the Delco Pooper." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about?" He said, "Just
you were having like a true deep throat moment."
Yes.
And somebody's like, "Hey,
yes,
you gonna write about the pooper?"
It's exactly what happened. And I pull out my phone and I look up Delco Pooper on Facebook, and sure enough, all over the Facebook community group from earlier in that day, or many of the Delco Facebook community groups, she was, so to speak, all over it. And, I finished that meeting with the cop. I went home. I probably worked on that till like midnight because I was just like, I know this is going to, go crazy because people are already talking about it. But my thinking about these things, because, there are people who will say, oh, he just repeats what he sees on social media. No, what I do is I see things that are on social media, but they are being talked about by people who aren't trained journalists, who don't necessarily have credibility, who say, oh, I saw the cop do this on the video, but they don't ask themselves, well, what happened 3 seconds before that? I ask all these questions. So I do get involved in these social media altercations or situations, but then I put my reporter's hat on and I call the police. I look up the court records. I call the witnesses and all that. But with the Delco Pooper, I did 5 stories on her in 2 days, which typically I would only publish 1 story on a day, only Monday through Thursday, because I have my daily column called Philly Today, Monday through Thursday. And then on Fridays, I don't write. I think I did 2 stories about her on Thursday. And then on my quote unquote day off on Friday, I did 3 stories. And then I did a 6th story when she had her day in court, 2 weeks later or something like that. It's kind of a funny story, I guess, in a way, and people are fascinated by it. But at the same time, I also think, you could just look at this as oh, this is silly. This is just salacious. But it's also it's about road rage. Yeah. And since 2020, since COVID, I drive all the time for my job and for the kids. It's just amazing to me how awful drivers have become, both with their driving and with the road rage that ensues.
Right.
And also, there are now cameras everywhere. We've also become an uncivilized society. So you have a road rage incident that turns into somebody pooping on a car, which is the sign of our lack of civility. Yeah. And you have somebody taking video of it.
Which, by the way, is just terrible job on that video. It's if there's a critique to be made here, it's true. It's on that.
But it was a kid. It was a kid. Yeah. But this is society 2025.
Right. We have 10 years of everybody says the part they used to whisper out loud now, and there's no real social etiquette at all.
Yes.
So, we end up pooping on cars.
So I think that that is how, if somebody were to ask me, how do you justify doing 5 stories about this in 2 days? I would say, 1, I am not allowed to reveal how many people read those stories, but it was a shit ton of people. A lot of people say viral, quote unquote, truly viral. Obviously, clicks are important to my employer and to me. I like to know that there are people out there reading it.
Oh, yeah.
But then also it is this kind of showcase of where we are at right now. And the other thing that I like is the former owner, Herb Lipson, who passed away several years back. He always told me that he longed for the days of the 70s when he would be at a cocktail party or a 3-martini lunch, which he was famous for, and the people around him would be talking about something in Philly Mag. And that was standard in the 70s. And I think that because of the online stuff that we do now, it's kind of back to that where I met a woman recently. She was like, "Are you the Victor?" I was like, "Yeah." And I get kind of embarrassed in those situations, but there aren't that many journalists named Victor in the city. Right. And she was like, "Oh my God, my coworker and I read your stuff every morning, and now I'm going to have to tell her that I met you." And I was like, "Please tell her how disappointed you were." But it's weird. It's just a weird world.
I saw it as a sign of the downfall of our society. That, not that this was a news story, but that someone actually did that.
Right.
It's how are you report on shitty people a lot. We went through your last 10 stories, and, my wife and I we take news breaks where we're just we just kind of put the blinders on, put our head in the sand just to become human again. How do you deal with doing this every day of just...
I just think I have a filter where it really doesn't get through to my psyche. I'm writing about these things that happen. It might help that back in the day I watched Law and Order SVU back to back.
SVU marathon.
So I might be a little desensitized to it. But no, I think that, hey, listen, I wake up in the morning, I might spend 2 hours telling a story about a bad person, and then I go play Scrabble with my kids, and then I go shopping and I make a big dinner for everybody. And, I sleep fine at night and it just kind of rolls off my back. There have been some stories that have affected me more than others, but they're certainly not the Delco Pooper.
Right. Yeah.
But
you're saying we're going to be okay, Victor. We're going to be okay.
I don't
Please
know.
say we're going to be okay.
I do have faith in humanity that we will eventually be okay. I'm not sure how
You're
we're
not
going
giving a timeline, though, and I don't.
I'm not sure how we're going to get there.
The other article I read was on the Long Island Medium. And the one nugget that I took from that was that your dad was a magician.
He was a magician. He was named the Great Shandor. And he had an act that would not go over well today because he kind of played this I don't know if it was like a Middle Eastern character. He had like a costume. He did magic starting when he was like a teenager. He would do magic down on the, I guess, Steel Pier in Atlantic City. Growing up, he had different stints of doing magic. At some point, he got very involved in the evangelical church, which convinced him that magic was like a product of Satan, and we weren't even allowed to play card games at home because the cards were supposedly somehow connected to satanic rituals. So he got out of it for a long time, and then he remarried, and his new wife and him started going to a different church that suggested that he do evangelical magic, that would be okay. So yes, he did magic. I've dabbled in magic over the years, but I'm really only interested in mentalism. And, I have had this notion of putting an act together at some point, which is probably about as good of an idea as my current My Dad Raps concept that I'm working on right now.
Your children are grown, though. You don't need to embarrass them anymore.
It's so true.
I mean, I might do it.
Yes.
My daughter's only 10, so it's...
Right. We'll have to talk. I'll send you some demos.
So like Kreskin-style mentalism? Is that what we're bending spoons?
Yeah, I mean, I have some things that I can do that are pretty impressive. But the thing that my dad never figured out was he was a technical magician, like very good technical magician. He never really figured out the right stage presence. And I think that, most of your really successful magicians today, they're all doing essentially the same tricks. I mean, some of them have multi-million-dollar budgets where they're able to develop things that nobody else is doing. But ultimately, it's about the stage character that they're playing. And my dad, just as he got older, got even worse with his stage presence. Right. And some members of Pig Iron Theater Company, who are good friends of mine, offered to help him with direction, and he got magicians are like super egotistical, weird people, and he just couldn't believe that some 20-something Obie award-winning actor would possibly want to interfere with his mastery. Like his thing was like, they don't understand how to do magic. It's like, no, Dad, they don't, but they understand how to look good on stage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have like these ideas for various things for myself, but what I don't think I would know how to do is sort of like have that character that makes it interesting.
Right. I'm a sucker for it. He'll tell you, I'm a pushover when it comes to mentalists and their abilities. Is the dude that does all the NFL players. He goes from camp to camp to camp and does crazy stuff.
I can't think of his name.
I can see him, but he's got a very dry, he's like in a suit and he's just whatever, but he's just fast talking, and it is amazing. It's like I would love to know how it's all done.
One of my favorite things ever, I went down a YouTube hole, black people seeing magic.
Yeah.
Is unreal. Yeah. You're like, how is this so consistently this size of a reaction? Right. It's the best.
Mentalism is like with most magic, everything comes down to like the simplest answer 99% of the time. Like how they did it, what they must have done, but you can't figure out how they did it.
Yeah, when it's written on a piece of paper and it's inside of an orange.
Yes.
Like that's the element where I'm just like.
And some of mentalism, comes down to plants in the audience. Like we know that to be true. When you're in the audience and you've paid $125 for this ticket, you're not thinking that cute blonde in the second row is a plant, She's just somebody there in attendance. She's an actress.
Yeah.
And we know that that's how certain feats are accomplished. So when you have a mixture of methods in a show, you know, you're sure to have a few wow moments where people are just like, okay, well, he might have been doing that there. But there, he clearly, you know, has some special powers.
Well, we're going to jump to, you have a special event coming up.
July 13th marks the 40th anniversary of Live Aid, which was, of course, the transcontinental concert that took place at Wembley in London and right here in Philadelphia at JFK Stadium in South Philly, which no longer exists. So I was trying to figure out how to commemorate the 40th anniversary. I've also been trying to raise a lot of money for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society.
Nice.
After my singer, Dito von Reggersberg, who's better known as his drag queen persona, Martha Graham Cracker, went through both leukemia and lymphoma. Kind of a double whammy, is now performing again. And the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society was so helpful with him and with so many other people. So since he's recovered, we've all been trying to figure out ways to raise money. So I thought, what better a thing to do than have a Live Aid tribute concert at Union Transfer, great venue in Philadelphia. It holds like 1,200 people on the 40th anniversary itself. And all of the singers who are, you know, different people from around the Philly area, ranging from, you know, a rapper to a gospel singer to a couple of drag queens. You know, we could go on. And they're all singing songs that were performed at JFK or Wembley that day. We were originally thinking, let's just do the JFK set list, but then you don't have Queen, and you kind of have to have Queen.
I mean, you know, it's funny, when we started talking about doing this and we were talking about the Live Aid anniversary, I started reflecting, watching some videos, and it's like, although Wembley had two of the most iconic performances, U2 and Queen, right?
Right.
The Philly, the list was amazing. It really was the better show.
It was a very cool show. I did take both set lists and send them out to all of the musicians and singers. And the one thing that people came back with was like, wow, there is just a lot of bad shit on here and a lot of and a lot of shit we've never heard of before. I mean, also Madonna's set, like it really wasn't that good.
It was. I remember that.
You know, we were kind of like, do we really want to do Madonna? No, I don't think we want to do Madonna. But you know, we have a really wide range, and so 100% of the ticket proceeds. Tickets are available at utphilly.com, the Union Transfer website. They'll go directly to the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, which is an arrangement only made possible by our presenting sponsor, which is the great Philadelphia real estate company, LGBTQ woman-owned Love Your Block, as well as our friends down at Pat Steaks, Standard Tap, Johnny Brenda's, the Jose Pistola's family of restaurants, Fergie's Pub, and a very special benefactor named Sandy Fox Jones. So basically the way that we can do this is that the sponsors are donating money to LLS. All the ticket sales go to LLS, and then LLS provides us with honorariums for the musicians who want honorariums.
That's great.
So basically, everybody who wants to be paid is being paid, and they're being paid not out of the ticket money; they're being paid out of sponsorship money.
Right.
And when you're trying to do something for charity or a nonprofit, it's a little hard sometimes, but everybody can agree on cancer as being something you want to fight.
Yes.
And when I say that everybody wants to be involved with this, the most amazing thing happened. Joey Sweeney is a guy who publishes or used to publish Celebrity. He's a local musician. I actually played keyboards on one of his albums many years ago, and he made sure to spell my name wrong on the liner credits. At some point in the past, I don't know when, Joey Sweeney decided that I was like the worst person in Philadelphia. He did an annual thing of an award for people that we should excommunicate from Philadelphia. I never won it, but I was on it for several years.
Always the bridesmaid, never the bride.
He really has this incredible disdain for me, and he's never explained why, which is fine. I get it. Some people don't like me. The weird thing is that we travel in similar circles. Like we have friends who are very good friends with each other, and Fergie from Fergie's Pub, very popular Irish bar in Philadelphia, texts me a couple weeks ago and says, Joey Sweeney wants to perform U2 at your Live Aid benefit, and I, meaning Fergie, will be the broker of this relationship, of this exchange. Whoa. I was like, "Are you serious, Fergie? Like, what is happening here?" Eventually, I realized I had Joey Sweeney's number from like 20 years ago before he hated me. I just texted him and was like, "Dude, we don't need Fergie to like if you want to perform, happy to have you perform, and maybe one day we can talk about things or not." So it's just illustrative, I think, of like how excited people are and how this has brought.
It's bridging gaps.
It is bridging gaps between two guys that I thought would never ever talk again.
Wow.
I saw him at Johnny Brenda's years ago. He was sitting at the bar upstairs. My band was going to be performing, and I walked over to him. This is years after he first started disliking me, and I walked over to him and said, "Hey Joey, good to see you." And I put my hand out, and he drew a box with his fingers in the air, and he said, "Get out of my window, man."
What the fuck? That's crazy.
It's crazy. So I think I can tell these stories now that Joey and I are apparently reuniting, or he's going to hear this and be like, "Yo, dude, you're on the shit list." You don't think
he's going to
again.
sabotage you on stage, right?
I had this thought. I did have this thought. Okay, wait. It's weird that Fergie is bringing this to me. Obviously, Live Aid had a lot of controversy associated with it. My show is for charity. Live Aid was supposedly for charity. Yeah. Is Joey trying to plant himself as a mole in my organization to try to do an expose that finally gets me kicked out of Philadelphia? Right. But but all I know is that I'm on the up and up, and this is a legitimate event, and I think Joey has his heart in the right place, where he wants to join the event. He wants to sing a little U2. He might sing something else, and maybe, who knows, we'll shake hands at it.
I mean, U2 became global superstars that day.
There we go.
With that performance. So that's a tall order.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
You have your set list set, or everyone is all lined up, all set?
Yep.
You're locked down?
I think we're only waiting to lock down one song. We had a little hard time filling the Stairway to Heaven slots in terms of the lead singer. A lot of people were scared to take it on because it's so iconic. Yeah. The woman that I did get to take on most of it is Eliza Hardy-Jones, part of the War on Drugs. She's toured with... I hope I'm getting the right band. Grace Potter, she played piano for Grace Potter. I think she worked with Iron and Wine, a bunch of great local bands. Yeah. And I just heard her voice on Stairway to Heaven, but she was like, "I'm not a rocker, dude," and she's a folksy kind of person. Yeah. Then I listened to the song and I was like, well, actually, until you get to after the guitar solo where they come in with, and as we wind on down the road, or whatever it is, the first 2/3 of that song are quite folksy. The live band doesn't even come in until 2.5 minutes into the song. My daughter, who plays concert harp, and her friend who plays flute, you know how the beginning of the song is typically finger-style guitar with the mellotron playing the flute. So my daughter and the flautist are going to open the song, instead of on guitar and mellotron, on actual flute and concert harp. Then the band comes in, Eliza will sing, and then after the guitar solo, we're going to have somebody who's a belter who comes in to take over at that point.
Nice.
But I like mixing it up.
But that's actually fun. That's actually a great way to do it.
I like mixing it up. We're taking one of the Led Zeppelin songs, Rock and Roll, and converting it. The great local singer, P.J. Brown of P.J. Brown and Her Resistance. She's a regular member or regular guest of my band, Martha Graham Cracker. She does a great job at pulling off like Etta James kind of things, like Smokin' Blues. So I was, listening to Rock and Roll and also thinking about the roots of Led Zeppelin, so much of which, came from black blues music that most people who know
the first
Led Zeppelin,
2 records are entirely.
Most people who know Led Zeppelin have no clue that they basically just listened to a bunch of old black blues and then wrote songs. And if you take Stairway to Heaven and you get rid of that crazy drum beat and you slow it down a little bit and you change it into a blues shuffle with somebody like P.J. Brown singing. And then we've got trombone solo, we've got guitar solo. Preston Elliott from the Preston and Steve Show is going to do a Phil Collins and play drums on that song. Nice. He's going to do a drum solo.
Is he going to take the Concorde to the other side?
No Concorde available. Also, no cocaine at this gig. I told everybody, Phil Collins, you can sue me if you want, but you were so fucked out of your mind. It was truly awful. Basically, we are redeeming the Led Zeppelin reunion because Pierre Robert claims that the Led Zeppelin reunion was like amazing at Live Aid. He was working there for WMMR that day. He just says it was the best thing ever. I think he has not watched the video of it, because if you watch the video, it's just bad. It's just bad.
Yeah, it's
you
not,
know,
it's rough.
Jimmy Page is like literally drooling on the stage.
Yeah.
Robert Plant, when he starts singing, it's been a long time since I rock and rolled. Immediately, you know, his voice is just like, what? Have you not had vocal coaching? Have you not been drinking tea with honey? And then Phil Collins, a lot of people don't know this. So Jimmy and Robert originally called Phil Collins. Phil Collins and Robert Plant were pals. And Robert got wind of Live Aid and called Phil and said, hey, I'm thinking about maybe doing something. Would you want to drum? He says, yeah. And Robert says, okay, maybe Jimmy will do something too. Okay, John Paul Jones, the bass player, keyboard player for Led Zeppelin, is never mentioned. Of course, John Bonham had died years before that. So then Phil Collins is like off in his own world with his family, traveling or whatever, has no idea that this little idea of some mates jamming has become the full-blown Led Zeppelin reunion, and that he's going to be performing with Sting and solo at Wembley and taking the Concorde to Philly to perform with the quote-unquote Led Zeppelin. So he suddenly learns this, and that John Paul Jones is involved, and he's like, holy fuck, man. He calls Robert Plant. Robert says, you know, why don't you rehearse with us? And Phil's like, listen, you guys are in the States right now. For whatever reason, Robert and Jimmy were in the States, and Phil was, you know, traveling with his family. He's like, listen, just figure out what songs you want to do, and I will, he literally said this to them, I will listen to them on my Walkman in the Concorde on the way over from Wembley. Meanwhile, Cher is on the Concorde from Wembley with a bottle of champagne and starts socializing with Phil. It's unclear to me if Phil actually listened to the songs or not. But he gets there. They have a second drummer, as you might remember. So that, you know, which kind of complicates matters more because you know, you have two guys drumming. Phil is often out of time with the other drummer. Phil at some points drops out because he doesn't know what he's doing. But like if you're on stage and you're trying to follow the drummer, like who are you following? Like the guy who's here or the guy who's here? I mean, it was a huge mess. So we're going to redeem that. Hopefully, and I think we couldn't possibly be any worse than Led Zeppelin was. I think that's fair enough. He also has really bad tinnitus. We're talking about Preston for Preston and Steve. So he basically can't be around loud music. So he has to have his wedge monitor turned off. He'll have headphones on with like a real low volume. So I'm like, dude, are you going to be able even to hear anything? So this could go really, really poorly.
Which, okay, begs the question, who's your second drummer?
Well, so, yes. So fortunately, we will be rehearsing, because also Preston's a busy guy. Who knows what could happen? He could be out of town or something. Right. So we are going to rehearse the song with my house band just in case something happens.
I think that's a very, very good idea.
Yes, yes. I've been doing this long enough to know how to produce a show and, you know, be aware that you have to have a contingency plan.
Doesn't Preston play those electric drums? I mean, you could just not plug them in.
Yeah, he does play V drums, and he will be playing on an acoustic set. So,
really?
Yes.
Oh.
I'm not bringing in a V drum set for.
No.
You know, I mean, come on.
Oh, because you have self-respect.
It's also like already a logistically complicated gig.
Congratulations. I don't think anyone's going to sue you for this appearance today.
Let's hope
maybe
not.
Yeah.
I'm already going through one lawsuit. I don't need another.
Well, let's hope Joey Sweeney doesn't get litigious.
We are doing a thing just to find out a little bit about yourself. As we are doing Desert Island album, movie, and we're also doing TV series. One of each. It's all you get.
I'm gonna show myself as so like dumb here. So okay, I'm gonna go outside. I was going. No, I'm not gonna do that. Okay, no. Here we go.
All right.
Here we go. Live Evil, the live Black Sabbath album with Ronnie James Dio behind the mic. I'm assuming I can do a live album.
Oh,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
That is an album that I regularly play at bars, that I put on in the car. I think some of the versions of, like War Pigs, that version of War Pigs is just so much better than any other recorded version of War Pigs. And I know that there are some Ozzy purists who are going to be like, dude, but sorry, you put the one next to the other, and Ronnie James Dio wins on that recording of that song at least.
Love it.
Okay. Everybody loves an old Italian woman singing Black Sabbath. That's
There you go. For movie, I would have to go with. I'm going to go with Double Indemnity, the film noir classic featuring Barbara Stanwyck and Fred McMurray.
Yeah.
It's probably the movie I've seen the most times. The truth about this movie is that it has become my fall asleep movie. After I perform or have a big event, I'm always extremely wired, but I need to go to sleep. And I know that movie so incredibly well that I put it on, and it's an amazing movie that I would watch again, but I fall asleep within 10 minutes. Just because I know it so well, like I just know it.
you know every beat.
Yes, Sunset Boulevard would be a close second to that.
Yeah,
I am a big
it's a good
film
choice.
noir fan, but so I'm part of my choosing of that is practical, not just because that's a great movie, but I'm assuming that if I'm alone on a desert island, I'm going to have some major mental health issues and anxiety and problems sleeping. So this will again.
It's a great
Both
choice.
problems.
That's a great choice.
Nice.
And then I'm actually being much more thoughtful about this than I thought I would be. Because I was just going to be like, I don't know, Dark Side of the Moon. But then it was like, no. The Godfather, no. Okay, TV series is easy. It is The Handmaid's Tale, only because I only got through the first season and a half. So I need. So if you're going to ship me off to a desert island now, first of all, I think the show warrants repeated watchings and is an amazing, like, weird mix of like terrible things. And I like dark. I like to watch things that are dark, like film noir is my thing. I don't watch comedies at all, except like Doctor Strangelove. So I would want to finish watching that with the provision that if any new seasons are released, that they get shipped to me on my desert island.
We can make that happen. We
Okay.
can make that happen.
We can't rescue
Done.
you, but we can make that
Done.
happen.
Yeah, I
Deal.
understand.
I like that.
Love it. Fucking love it.
Send
All
it with a flotation device, please.
Perfect. Well, thank you, man. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
coming on. It's great to see old friends and like catch up and keep doing what you're doing, man. I love it.
Thank you.
It's
Thanks
I
for
love
having
reading
me.
your stuff. It's a pleasure, man.
Yeah. Keep people honest.
Yeah.
That's-
Absolutely. That's what I try to do.
We need it
every day.
Yeah, we need
Inform, entertain, and tear down the man. That's
Tear down the man. I will say that I am happy that I'm not a national correspondent. Like that, I don't think I could handle. Like my friend Holly Otterbein, she's national politics for Politico. Like I just couldn't handle that. Fortunately, Philadelphia is a plenty interesting town where there's lots of stuff, good and bad, to write about. There are lots of scandals to expose. There are lots of things to investigate. I don't think, like, the country situation is definitely weighing on me in a way where I don't think I could do that job. So to all the national journalists out there who are covering it and whose lives are being threatened and whose freedom
Stay
could be
strong.
threatened, stay strong.
Yeah.
Yes, I look up to them in a major way.
excellent. Well, I hope everyone remembers to rate, review, subscribe, leave us a comment, please.
Give Victor a shout out.
Yeah, follow Victor if you don't already. You should be. It's very-
Philly Victor is my kind of handle. Philly
That's-
Victor on
yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, please give him a follow, and if you're not already, because it's entertaining and informative all at once.
Thank
And
you.
facts are checked.
Yes,
Thank God.
facts are super important. Please try to remember.
Yeah.
We still need them.
Yeah.
We still need facts in
Absolutely.
this world.
All right.
So
Be good.
See-